So I'm with the director of the new movie HighRise, which I saw in the week. It's Ben Wheatley. How are you, Ben?
I'm good, thanks.
Fantastic film. I saw it at 7:30 in the morning, and
You're
it
a brave
was
man,
the
yeah.
most surreal experience. But I think it kind of suited the film because I think the film is quite surreal. It's thought provoking because I live in a high rise, not as high as the one in the movie,
Right.
and it made me.
Where in the high rise do you live? In the middle at the top?
In Bermondsey. I'm on the third floor, but it kind of made me think about who lives above because it's all centred the film about the people that live, well, mainly on the top, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
The
there's kind of a hierarchy that develops in the building from the people who live on the bottom to the middle to the top. Yeah.
It is a thought-provoking movie, and it's such a fantastic cast as well. You've got Jeremy Irons, you've got Sienna Miller as well. But I think for me, the standout terrific performance was Luke Evan, Richard Wilder, the character. Because I think he looks great when he looks terrible. The more weathered he looks, the better he looks.
Yeah. I mean, no, he was. Luke was fantastic. I mean, and also a complete sport, for putting up with being covered in grue.
Yeah.
For weeks on end.
Yeah.
I think the poor sod had to scrub himself with a wire brush to get all that stuff off every night.
How does it feel to direct a movie? Because I know that you're a writer as well, but to direct a movie that is already a story written by somebody else, because you've obviously written screenplays before, written movies. Yeah,
I mean, in terms of dealing with a book, it's kind of. It's a difficult one, especially a well-loved book like this, where if I had written it, I didn't write the screenplay for this either. Amy Jump wrote it, but if I had written it, when you come to reread this script, you suddenly go, well, don't let's get rid of this. Amalgamate all these characters and get rid of all this. No one knows. No tears are shed. But you do it with a book, and then people are kind of rightly cross, and I think that's a pressure. That's a definite pressure across it. But Amy did a really good job of adapting it, and I think that our aim was always to do right by the book as much as we could. And we always, and everything was trying to translate that book to screen rather than kind of make our lives easier. So
quite a challenge though as well.
Yeah, massive challenge. I mean, and thank God I wasn't involved in writing it because I think I would have pulled all my hair out, and she went into a fugue state and disappeared for a few months and came back with the script. And when I read it, I just thought it was phenomenal.
There's a great line in the movie directed at Tom Hiddleston, who obviously takes his clothes off quite a bit in it. But the line is, "You look much better with your clothes off," and not many people do.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to know how he felt about portraying that character in the sense that he has to take his clothes off because he's obviously got a good body.
Yeah.
Was he quite nervous about that?
No, he's not nervous about being naked. I mean, it's not an easy thing to do because it's not obviously what you see on set is a tiny fragment of what the reality of that set is, which is just loads of technical people hanging around waiting to do their job. So when you launch yourself out naked into that environment, there's a lot of people looking. But I God, and I wouldn't do it, to be honest. It was interesting, because we're really trying to be really respectful and not stare, basically.
Sure,
So I mean, I didn't see Hiddleston naked at all during the whole thing. I was just down by my monitor going,
I suppose it ticks boxes for him though, if he wants to choose other roles where he's got to do that, because I've not seen him in a role like this before, and it's also it is completely different to what he's done before. So another challenge for him, I guess, to take on that part.
Yeah, I think it's I think it is and it isn't. I mean, I think he always looks for he's got like two pillars to his kind of career. One which is doing really large tentpole kind of movies, and the other side which is supporting more art house and challenging cinema. So, all power to him. I think his choices are impeccable.
Yeah. A couple of other things I really loved about the movie, and I'm a massive fan of your previous films, Kill List and Sightseers as well. Both very different, because obviously there's more humour in Sightseers, even though it's dark.
Yeah.
Whereas Kill List obviously is more shocking, a lot more shocking. But I love the score of this movie. And I got the feeling, I don't know this, but I got the feeling that you're a Hitchcock fan. And possibly a John Carpenter fan as well, because the score, obviously, Clint Mansell from Pop Elite itself, he did the score for this. It's just brooding and brilliant and perfectly suited to the theme, the mood of the film.
Oh, cheers, yeah. Well, I mean, I am obviously a massive Carpenter fan. You can't not be. Both Carpenters, in fact, the Carpenters and John Carpenter.
Yeah.
But, I mean, and there is a bit of the... I don't think Clint will mind me saying there's a touch of the Bernard Herrmann's across it as well.
Absolutely,
but it's
with
hard,
the strings.
Yeah. But then he's resolutely his own man, Clint, you know, and it was a real kind of privilege to kind of see how that score developed, you know. So he starts off very small with kind of quite light electronic demos, and then just gets more and more detailed. And then we went out to Belgium to record the music with an orchestra out there, and it's just, yeah, it was a real treat. And I kind of really like that end of the process because there's nothing I can do, you know. But there's a slight air of like they give you respect as if you could do something, but you can't. You know, you're sitting there, but you're watching lots of highly skilled, highly creative people do their jobs, and it doesn't get much better than that.
I get the feeling that you really think that a score of a movie is important, because I think the score of this movie, it just really helps with the atmosphere. But there is one standout moment for me, and that's the Portishead cover of ABBA, SOS. And I know a lot of people are talking about it as well, but it's such a brilliant cover.
Yeah.
And it's so different to the original as well.
Yeah, I mean, I loved it. I mean, Amy had written it in that there would be two versions, because there's also the Clint Mansell classical music version of SOS earlier on. And she'd written in that there would be these two versions kind of talking to each other across the movie. And then I got to write to ABBA to ask for their permission, so that was like fantastic.
Yeah, what was the reaction from them?
Yeah, well, they obviously they're intrigued by it. They kind of know Jeremy Thomas, the producer's reputation, and they know the Ballard. You know, they're really well read, those guys, so they know about Ballard and about HighRise, but they also knew who Portishead were as well. So I think that was what reeled them in, you know. And then got to work with Portishead, which is, you know, I'm a massive fan of theirs, and I got to see them in action, you know, in the studio, kind of slowly turning dials. And
wow, brilliant. I know that you've touched on graphic scenes before in your movies, but this one, obviously, they say you should never work with children and animals. You work with both.
Yeah.
And you also work with your wife as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, your wife's on the screenplay. Is it more challenging with this movie to previous films?
Well, I mean, it's like, you know, I opened up the script and Amy had written in, children, animals in swimming pools, you know, and oh my God, it was a nightmare, and all sorts of different, not just, you know, dogs, horses, the whole 9 yards. So multiple dogs, multiple misbehaving dogs, I might add. But it was great. You know, the kids were all super fine. And Louis, who played Toby, was just an absolute dream, and it was like one of the first jobs he's ever done, and he was superb. But, you know, the only thing that gives me a slight chill is like having to deal with swimming pools and electricity, you know. That was children, you know. So, but it all was perfectly safe. But, you know, you just sit there going, oh God, I just let this day be done and finished.
Have you had an accident at work?
Yeah.
Ben, it's great chatting today. Wish you all the best with the movie HighRise. It's fantastic. I loved it, and I'm sure it's going to be a big success.
Oh,
good to see you.
Thanks, Phil.
Thank you.